Hi everyone. These stories of some people are truly inspiring and even touching. When you hear them, your eyes fill with tears and you feel goosebumps. So, without further ado, let's talk about these amazing and awe-inspiring stories. Let's get it on. Basma Hamid. When Basma Hamid was just 2 years old, a horrific kitchen oil accident resulted in third-degree burns that covered 40% of her face. Throughout her childhood, the girl had to go through a lot of difficult, exhausting surgeries. The doctors tried to at least partially hide the hideous scars, but at some points they realized that there was nothing that they could do. Modern medicine couldn't do anything about Basma's scars, but the girl did not give up. When she turned 17, she began experimenting with permanent makeup and micropigmentation implantations. Basma performed all the experiments on herself, and we have to admit that you really need to be brave to do this. In the end, the girl perfected the tattooing technique so much that it completely changed her life. Basma hid her scars so well that they became almost indistinguishable, and then she decided to help others. Today, Basma has several clinics in different cities, including Toronto, where she helps patients hide scars from burns. In fact, her technique is quite simple. Basma uses special pigments which fully match the skin tone and hide the scars. Many patients can't hold back their tears when they see the result, because they thought that the terrible scars would remain with them forever. But the most amazing thing is that even though Basma charges a fee for services in her clinics, she's always ready to treat a person for free if she finds out that he simply can't afford the procedures. John Bunn. John Bunn's life got a lot more complicated on August 14, 1991, when he was sitting in the kitchen in his mother's apartments in Brooklyn. It was then that the police arrived. The law enforcement officers said that 14-year-old John was suspected of killing an officer of one of the correctional facilities. This was an unfair accusation, because on the night the crime was committed, Bunn slept quietly in his bed. But Detective Louis Scarcella didn't care. He intimidated John and even openly threatened him. The court sentenced Bunn to 20 years in prison, then reduced his sentence to 9 because John was still a teenager. That's how John ended up in jail. It's hard to imagine the horror and despair the boy must have experienced back then, but the worst thing was that he couldn't even write letters to his mother. John Bunn could not read. He had to do something about this. Bunn started with dictionaries and children's books, working with teachers to learn how to pronounce words. At first it was humiliating, but he was a quick learner. By the age of 17, John had read almost the entire prison library and was preparing to be transferred to prison for adults. But even there, he didn't give up self-education, spending all of his free time with books. In 2006, John was freed on parole, but it was very difficult for him to get a job. Being a convicted killer, the guy simply couldn't get a position anywhere, and he even returned to prison for a year. But despite all this, Bunn was not going to give up. With the help of professional lawyers, he secured a review of his case, and in May 2018, John Bunn was officially declared innocent. After hearing the verdict of a judge, the man just burst into tears of happiness.
I'm an innocent man, Your Honor, and I have always been an innocent man.
Now that the horror of the unfair accusation was over, John had decided to devote his life to education. He intends to share the power of knowledge with those who need it most. With the help of his organization Voice for the Unheard, he collected over 80,000 books to build large libraries in educational colonies and other facilities. The Sirens Women's Motorcycle Club. The Sirens Women's Motorcycle Club, founded in 1986, is the oldest motorcycle club in New York, and thanks to its 40 members, aged from 25 to 74 years, it's also one of the largest in the state. These motorcyclists might seem like tough ladies not to be messed with, and you should probably stay as far away from them as possible, but as often happens, behind a stern image there are truly loving hearts. In 2016, the New York Milk Bank, a truly unique organization, contacted the club. The bank checks voluntary breast milk donors, pasteurizes the milk, and then delivers it to the children. It's not clear how exactly that conversation went, and how the bank managed to secure cooperation with these tough women. But since then, sirens regularly deliver breast milk to kids in hospitals and homes. To keep things organized, sirens use WhatsApp chat. This allows the bank to quickly inform women about the delivery times and addresses, and the motorcyclists choose which of them will be assigned to a specific delivery. But why are they doing all this? The answer is simple: for the sake of children who need help. After all, realizing that you helped another little kid grow up healthy is the best reward. Cycling without age. Living in a nursing home, even the most comfortable and modern, still makes many of its residents miserable. No matter how well they're treated, older people are still confined in four walls, and this is depressing. Indeed, most of them can't walk around the city on their own due to their conditions, and this makes them feel isolated from society. But in Denmark, they found a unique way to help the residents of nursing homes. Cycling without age is a movement initiated in 2012 by Ole Kassau. Ole wanted to help older people enjoy Denmark's beloved activity, riding bikes. At that time, he was looking for a solution for people with reduced mobility. It all started as a personal initiative for Ole, who came to nursing homes and drove their inhabitants on a trishaw around the city. A trishaw is a bicycle with an additional seat in the front for 1 or 2 passengers, a very simple but convenient device. Ole contacted a civil society consultant from Copenhagen, Dorthe Petersen, who became interested in the idea. Together, they bought the first 5 cycle trishaws and created the Cycling Without Age movement, which has more than 20,000 volunteers around the world today. Volunteers, also called pilots, register online or contact nursing homes to take someone for a bike ride. Then, the employees at Cycling Without Age and nursing homes look for older people who are interested in this opportunity. The only thing left is to deliver the trishaw with the pilot to the right place, and grandmothers and grandfathers will again feel the wind blowing in their hair, will be able to enjoy the familiar streets and talk with their pilot. Listening to your passengers is one of the key principles of Cycling Without Age, because older people always have so many stories that they'll just forget unless they share them with someone else. The pilots tell their stories too, listen a lot, and then share these stories on social media. By the way, these conversations help people make new friends through Cycling Without Age. After all, warm relationships build confidence and make life better. Liang Yaoyi. An 11-year-old Liang Yaoyi was an ordinary school kid from the Chinese city of Shenzhen. Perhaps the world would never have learned his name, but at the age of 9, Liang was diagnosed with a brain tumor. It all started with ordinary dizziness, which everyone suffers from occasionally, but in the case of little Liang, dizziness turned out to be a symptom of a terrible disease. The boy could not be cured, but even knowing about his illness and realizing that he would die soon, Liang acted like a real hero. He told his mother that he wanted to donate his organs to other sick children. There are many people doing great things in the world. They are great, and I want to be a great kid too, the boy told Daily China. It was very important for Liang to give others the opportunity to live since he was doomed. Surprisingly wise thoughts for an 11-year-old child, and simply amazing courage that can only be admired. When Liang died, the doctors bowed to him. This way they honored the boy. Liang's liver and kidneys were then used to save other kids' lives. Antonius Gunawan Agung. In the fall of 2018, a strong earthquake caused a tsunami in Indonesia. Waves from 4 to 7 meters tall hit the city of Palu in the province of Sulawesi, sweeping away everything in their path. The earthquake caused strong liquefaction of the soil of the city and around Palu. In 2 places, this resulted in mud flows. Many buildings were flooded, which led to the deaths of hundreds of people and more missing people. A real disaster. But as terrible as these events can be, sometimes they show that people can be real heroes. 21-year-old air traffic controller Antonius Gunawan Agung was in charge of clearing a passenger aircraft for takeoff at Palu Airport when the earthquake struck. His colleagues rushed to leave the tower, but he refused to follow their example. Agung remained at his post until the Batik Air passenger flight with 148 people on board took off. Only after making sure that the plane was safe, the air traffic controller decided to leave the tower, but the exits were already blocked by that time. Agung had to jump from the crumbling tower from the height of the 4th floor. At that time, the earthquake had already reached a magnitude of 7.4. Agung suffered from multiple fractures in his arms, legs, and ribs, and he died in a helicopter transporting him to a specialized clinic. But his sacrifice was not in vain. According to the representatives of Air Navigation Indonesia, the heroic act of the 21-year-old man most likely saved the flight from a certain crush. In recognition of his sacrifice, Agung's rank was posthumously raised by 2 levels. His story quickly spread on the internet, and the users praised him and hailed the air traffic controller as a real hero. Psst, dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on the future? Do you love huge vehicles and can't imagine your life without robots around you? Then visit TechZone and you'll find all this and more. The link is in the description. You interested? Great.